Hey guys, it is December 30th, 2025, and I thought this would be a great day to go live. You know me, I didn't publicize it anywhere. So hopefully you got a ding letting you know that we were on YouTube live or you're watching this after I recorded it. Okay. So if you do come in the middle of it, no worries. Just go ahead and put your questions down in the comments, and then at the end I will make sure I get to them. But because this is the end of the year, we only have 2 more days left in 2025, or one more day left actually. I wanted to do with you what I used to do during this time of the year. It was my mid-year assessment. Now, we didn't homeschool year round, so we always started in September, right after Labor Day, and we went all the way through Memorial Day or the first week of June. And then we would take off the summer. Okay. But I know a lot of you do year round schooling, which means you're probably starting your new learning quarter or your new learning year or level come January. Okay. And so this is a perfect time of the year to look back at either last year or to look at the first half of your school year to see how things are going so that you can make some adjustments and you don't spend an arm and a leg in Amazon buying all new curriculum because things aren't going the way you thought they were going to go. Okay. So before you go buy anything, before you put all your kids in these different classes, before you give up homeschooling, let's go through this mid-year assessment. Okay. All right. So first of all, I do have a podcast called Coffee with Carrie Homeschool Podcast. We have 5 years of it, 10 seasons. I have over 300 episodes. And if you go back and take a look at all of the episodes that I dropped either the last week of December of each year or the first couple of weeks of January, you're going to find tons of episodes that will help you also in this process, because you'll find some on how to simplify your learning space during this time of the year. You'll find some on reevaluating and reflecting, creating a homeschool mission statement, creating new goals. What's the one thing that's important to you and to focus on the rest of the year? All those kinds of things. So I have tons of episodes already at Coffee with Carrie Homeschool Podcast that you could just, like I said, search end of December of any year, starting 2020, or the beginning of January of any year, and you're going to find tons of episodes that will help you. Okay, so you can be listening to those while you're running or cooking and things like that. Now, speaking of Coffee with Carrie Homeschool Podcast, in January, so actually this coming Thursday, I drop episodes every Thursday. So this year in 2026, all of the episodes in all of the month of January, I'm going to be focusing on helping you change your mindset from homeschooling to home education. I'm always emphasizing how to simplify your homeschooling. So I'm going to be doing a lot of that as well. But I'm going to be really honing in on, if you truly change your mindset from doing school at home to home education, then any goals that you come up with me right now, or any goals that you had set for this school year that you haven't accomplished yet, you're going to find it much easier to meet those goals if you begin to change your mindset. So they're great episodes to listen to all through the month of January, because it will help you kind of restart, re-kick your school year. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. It's called Coffee with Carrie Homeschool Podcast. You can find it on all the major platforms. All right. So what we're going to do first, I want you to, if you have a notebook, to write these things down. If you would like a copy of these, then you can go to my website within the next couple of days, and I will have it there so that you could just download them if you want. But let's go through them right now. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to list off 3 goals that you set at the beginning of this school year. So if you started in September, what were 3 goals that you had for either your kids, your family, yourself? Maybe you had a goal for each child, but I want you to list out 3 of those goals that you had, whether you met them or not. Okay. So just list those down. Now for me, as you're kind of thinking, you can either pause if you're watching the recording of this, or you could be thinking about it while I'm talking. For me, I always had a academic goal for my kids. I had a physical goal, like health kind of goal for them. I always had some sort of spiritual goal for them. And I always had a goal for our family. So in the beginning, that goal always had to do with read aloud, because I wanted to get into a habit of reading aloud every single day. Sometimes our goal for the whole family may have been that we took a Sabbath rest every day. We took time each day to actually just kind of chill and recoup our thoughts, right? And reset for the rest of the day. So just be thinking about it. Maybe your child is 9 or 10 years old and they're complaining about their spelling. Then maybe your goal for one of your kids this year was that they would become a better speller. Okay. So just be thinking about, I'm only asking for 3. What were 3 goals that you set for yourself, your family, or each of your kids for their homeschooling school year? Okay. At the beginning of this year. All right. Now, I want you to be thinking about your wins. So far, we're at the end of December. If you started in September, you've got a half a year. I'm sure you have some wins. If you homeschool year round, then you've got a whole year to reflect on, to look back on. Okay. But I want you to highlight, I really want you to think about this. 3 accomplishments in your homeschooling so far. Okay. So did you meet 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 of those goals already? Great. Then write them down. Give yourself the win. Give yourself a pat on the back. But think about, even if they weren't huge wins, they were just smaller wins. Like maybe now every morning, your youngest one actually comes to the breakfast table without complaining, or they actually come with a shirt on and they're ready for the day. That could be a huge win for many of us. Okay. Maybe it was a huge win, as in your student started to read. Okay. Or maybe your student's been reading, but they never liked reading. And so far this year, they're enjoying it. Guys, give yourself the win. Okay. So I want you to be thinking about, what are 3 accomplishments, 3 wins in your homeschooling thus far since you started this homeschooling year? Write those down. Thank God for those. Be proud of those, but write them down, because before we get into our challenges, I want you to have these wins in front of you. And remember, they could be super small. They could be mediocre. They could be home related. They could be hygiene related. They could be academic related, whatever. Okay. Maybe you're drinking water every single day and you weren't doing that before. Give yourself a win, because when you're a homeschooling mom, sometimes we forget to do the very basic things like drink water every day. Okay. So think about your wins. All right. Now let's move on to some reflection questions here. It's always good to establish an attitude of gratitude. Okay. So I want you to jot down 3 things that you are grateful for in your homeschooling journey. So it doesn't even have to be this year, but what are just at least 3 things that you are super thankful for? Things that because you homeschool, or because you're home with the kids, home educating them, what are some blessings that have come out of that? Maybe you and your daughter have healed your relationship. Maybe your son, who was being bullied and felt alone and didn't have any friends, he now has 2 or 3 really good friends now at his co-op that he might be going to. Okay. Just be thinking about, what are some blessings and huge advantages that have come, or God has given to you and your family, because you have been homeschooling. It's always good to look back and to be grateful for those things. Okay. I know for me, one of the things that, 2 of the things that I was not expecting, that I was super grateful for every single year, was the relationship between my kids. So their sibling relationships. And a lot of moms think, well, if we're going to homeschool, they don't even get along, the 3 hours that they're home after school. How in the world are they going to get along if we start homeschooling? You're going to be amazed. One of the biggest, most surprising blessings of homeschooling is watching your siblings go from being each other's first friend to each other's best friend to their, as adults, their forever friend. Okay. So I was always super grateful about that. Also, I was very grateful as well. the relationship my kids had with their grandparents. Now, we were blessed to have quite a few grandparents still alive when we were homeschooling, and several of them lived close by. And so it was amazing. What a blessing to have the grandparents involved, not just in their life, but in their education. Okay. And I know some of you might be thinking, oh, but my in-laws or my parents are our biggest critics. So are ours. Okay. But as the fruit began to unfold and as the grandparents got to see the advantages of homeschooling and how much time the grandkids had because they were homeschooling that they could spend with the grandparents, their opinions began to change. And by the time both of my kids graduated, all the grandparents who were still alive were 110% on board with homeschooling. They were no longer our biggest critics, but they were the biggest cheerleaders for homeschooling. Okay. So think of at least 3 things that you're grateful for on this homeschooling journey. Okay. All right. Now, I want you to be thinking about what topics sparked enthusiasm in your children's learning during the first half of this year. Okay. So think about it. What was it that you guys learned about, or what was it something that you guys did, or maybe it wasn't even something you planned. It was something that serendipitously came up, and your kids really got into it and really enjoyed it. Think about what are some of those topics that really sparked enthusiasm and joy and curiosity in your kids. Okay, so think about what that 1 or 2 things, maybe it's 3 or 4, not quite sure, and I want you to try and repeat those things for the rest of the year. Okay. So let's just say they really got into gardening. Well, make sure you do a lot of gardening the second half of the year. Or maybe they really got into a particular book series. Well, then make sure that book series is something you guys read together as a family. Or maybe have a book club with your kids' friends where you can read that book series together and discuss it. Okay. Maybe they really got into robotics. Maybe they really got into mechanics, car mechanics, and things like that. Make sure whatever it is that they really got excited about in the first half of the year, you make sure you include that in the second half of the year. And trust me, when the winter months come and the winter blahs come, those are the activities or those are the things that are really going to keep things going. Okay, so jot down what they are and then come up with a few ideas as to how you can continue that in the second half of the year. Okay, next question. Reflect on the milestones achieved so far in your homeschooling this year. Okay, what are you most proud of? So maybe one of your goals was to read aloud every single day with your family, and you haven't got to it every single day, but you've been more consistent. And maybe you read aloud to your kids 4 times a week. Okay, or maybe one of your goals was that you were already reading aloud to your family, but you were only doing it for like 5 or 10 minutes a day, and you got up to 20 or 30 minutes a day. That's a huge goal. Okay. Maybe it was you wanted to start nature studies this year and you actually got out, even if it was just in your backyard or to go for walks once a week in your neighborhood so that the kids could explore different things in nature and then come home and draw them and learn about them and write about them and things like that. Okay. So think about what are some milestones? What are some things that you're most proud of that your kids have either accomplished or you have accomplished. All right. Again, it could be maybe a kid finally started to read, or maybe one kid doesn't complain when he sits down to do some of his writing assignments and things like that. Okay. Those are huge. All right. Now, still with our goals and wins. You've worked very hard so far this homeschooling year. Okay. So don't take these accomplishments for granted. I want you to brainstorm. This is probably, if you're watching this, you probably want to pause it and kind of really think about this and pray about it. But brainstorm some of the factors that contributed to these successes. Okay. So maybe one of the accomplishments is that you're eating out less. Okay. And you're able to actually eat more at home, healthy meals. Well, what helped you accomplish that goal? Were you doing meal planning now? Were you grocery shopping and doing what I used to call double batching. That when I made dinner one night, I double batched it, and then I automatically froze one of those batches. So no matter what day of the week it was, I knew we had a fresh homemade cooked meal that I could pull out of the freezer instead of going through the drive-through. Okay, maybe your goal was that you were in God's word on a daily basis, or that your family did daily devotions together as a family, and you're doing it. It's a huge accomplishment. What's different this year that you're now doing that? So maybe you're getting up a little earlier than you were before, or maybe you're just getting up before the kids, or maybe you're doing your Bible study because you're a night owl at night when the house is quiet and everyone's in bed. And then that way in the morning, when you sit down together as a family to do family devotions, you are then sharing what you learned through your Bible study and your time with the Lord, even though it was the night before. Okay, so think about it. What is it? What are some things that you have done differently that have worked, that have helped you accomplish these goals and these major or minor wins? Okay, so be thinking about that, because those steps are super important. All right, now we're going to move on because of time here. I don't want to be more than a half hour. We're going to do some ratings. So I'm going to give you different categories, and you're going to rate how you feel about each of the following things from 1 to 5. 1 being not great at all. Okay, pitiful. 5 being the best. Okay, so the first one, so far this half of your school year, the learning methods that you are using. Now, notice I didn't say curriculum, just the learning methods, the things that you're doing during those formal hours, or that formal time you do school with your kids. Is it not working at all? Right? Okay, so that would be a 1. And you're completely on the page of, we just need to do something else because what I'm doing with the kids is not working. Okay. Or is it, the learning methods are okay with a few kids, it's working, with one kid, it's not in particular. So maybe it's a 3, or maybe it's a 5. What you're doing with the kids, it brings much joy to everybody. Okay, so how are the learning methods? That could be online, that could be particular curriculums you're using. Maybe it's a unit studies that you do, maybe it's unschooling, just your learning method. Okay, now in this area, like some moms, they absolutely love Charlotte Mason and they want to be a purist Charlotte Mason, but some of the things fit, but not all of it fit. And so they feel guilty that they're not doing all of the Charlotte Mason stuff. But that's okay. You don't have to be a purist classical educator. You don't have to be a Charlotte Mason purist. You don't have to be an unschooler purist. Okay. You do what works best for your family. But whatever you're using right now, is it a 1? It's not working at all. Or is it a 5? It's doing really, it brings us much joy. Okay. The next one is your daily schedule. Think about your daily schedule. Is it working? Is it not working? Do you always feel like it's a constant push to get through the day or to get things done? Okay. So if it's not working and you know that you need to be doing something else, you just don't know what, give yourself a 1. If sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not, but you can put your finger on why, like maybe it's a particular day, or maybe it's a particular kid that always seems to wake up a little cranky, and then that kind of messes up the schedule. Or 5, have you finally got a daily rhythm down so that it's bringing much joy to you and your family? Okay. The next one, I want you to be thinking about your weekly calendar and activities that you have planned. Okay. Is it a 1? It's not working at all because it's total chaos. And it totally sucks the joy out of you when you have to think about all the different activities and classes and things that you've signed them up for. Maybe it's a 3 where some of them bring joy, some of them not so much. Or maybe one particular day is overbooked, but the rest of the week is okay. Or maybe 5, you've got this really good rhythm going in your weekly calendar and activities, and it brings much joy when you do these things. Okay. All right. I have 3 more to think about. How are your family devotions going? Would you give yourself a 5 because they're consistent? They bring joy. Now remember, daily devotions don't have to be an hour long. They don't have to be sermons. It could just be 5 minutes in God's word. It could be 5 minutes singing a praise and worship song. It could be 5 minutes singing a hymn or learning a hymn. Okay. So it doesn't have to be like a formal thing. As long as you're sitting down together as a family and studying God's word or praising God in some way, and it brings much joy, give yourself a 5. Okay. Or maybe it's a 1. You're not doing it at all, or it's not working at all, whatever it is that you're doing. Okay. The next one is read aloud time. Is it working? Does it bring much joy? Again, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes a day. It's a consistent thing. Are you being consistent? 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day? Or is it more of a 1? It ain't working. Now, remember, one of the things that homeschool moms have this vision that read aloud time is going to be this awesome snuggle time on the couch, and everyone's going to be quiet and listening and snuggling. And it hardly ever looks and sounds like that. Okay. And depending on what season of motherhood and homeschooling you're in, if you have toddlers and preschoolers and very antsy little boys, it's not going to look like that for a very long time. Okay. So what I'm talking about is that when you do sit down to do read aloud, and the stories you're reading, everyone is enjoying. And it goes pretty well most of the time. Okay. Yes, there might be some interruptions, but it doesn't suck the joy out of you. Give yourself a 3 or a 4 or a 5. If it's not happening at all, give yourself a 1. Okay. And then chores and work habits. How's that going so far this year? Is it a 5? Everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing and remembering what to do, and they're doing it well with happy hearts and content hearts. Then give yourself a 5. If it's not happening at all and they're making the messes, but no one's helping clean up the messes, then you got yourself a 1 there. Okay. So that's probably something you're going to be looking at, that you want to make some changes. Okay. All right. Now that we've looked at our accomplishments, our goals we had originally set, some wins that we've had, now let's start looking at our challenges and some of the changes that we probably want to make as we go through the second half of the school year. Okay. I want you to think about 3 major challenges that you have faced so far this homeschooling year. Okay. And again, that could be anything. It could be maybe a health problem. Okay. Maybe one kid constantly has to go to the doctor for different things, and getting to those doctor's appointments has been a major challenge. Okay. Maybe the major challenge has been read aloud time or a family devotion. You wind up screaming and yelling like a crazy banshee at the end of it, because it's just not going well at all. Maybe the big challenge again has something to do with the house. That again, your house doesn't have to be spotless. It doesn't even have to be super tidy. But if you're the kind of person that can't think well in the midst of chaos and mess, then you're going to have to figure out a way, right, to not have your house always in a state of mess, because your brain's not going to be able to think. Or maybe you have a child who cannot think and learn in that kind of environment. Okay. Maybe that's been a major challenge this year. I hate to say this. Maybe the co-op you're in is a major challenge this year. Maybe one of the classes or all the classes your kids are in, they don't like, or it's not a good fit with your kid and the teacher, or maybe your expectations haven't been met. Maybe you were expecting it to be highly academic and it's not, or you were expecting it to be more enrichment and it's been too academic, right? Maybe it's too far. And you're doing it for the social time, but everyone is cranky before they even get there because the ride is so long. And then you get stuck in 2-hour traffic getting back home. And so then you're irritable by the time you get home. So maybe the co-op or the classes your kids are in has been a major challenge. Okay. So think about and write down 3 major challenges that you have faced so far this homeschooling year. We're going to try and work those out. Okay. Now, let's think about the changes that need to be made. And change is so hard, especially if you spent $500 on a language arts curriculum and $300 on a math curriculum, and you paid $1,000 to be in your co-op or the community, the CC community you're in or something. And there's just something about that you're like, no way, we paid for this. We are going to do this until we are done, right? But it's sucking the joy out of everybody, and it's not working. It doesn't fit with your family schedule. It doesn't fit with your child's learning style. It doesn't fit with your teaching style. It's okay mid-year to change some of these things. Okay. Yes, there is something to be said about sticking something out until the very end. But if it's certainly not working and it's causing more stress, then, it's a constant battle every single time, then maybe this is the best time of the year to go ahead and put one thing aside and to try something else. Okay. So, I want you to be thinking about what is sucking the joy out of you and your kids. Brainstorm possible solutions to these challenges. Okay. So maybe if it is a class, well, maybe your kid finishes up this semester, and then whenever the next payment is due for the second semester, you drop the class and the kid doesn't do it. Maybe they do something else, or they just come home and then they have more free time because maybe that's what's causing the stress. They're always feeling like they don't have enough time to get things done. Okay. Maybe it is a particular curriculum. Everybody loved this particular language arts or this reading program, but your kid hates it and you don't understand it. It's okay to drop it. If it's not working, try and sell it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay if that's still a thing. Bring it to your co-op, exchange it with someone else for a different program. This is the time of the year to do that. Okay. And if one of your major challenges had to do with meal times or chores or things like that, then what changes can you implement to make that better? So maybe start meal prepping, maybe at least just meal planning, having an idea of what you're going to eat during the week, and then go to the grocery store one time a week or once a month if you do something like Costco runs, and just follow your plan. And that way, you know that you've got certain things down pat. Okay. These are all just suggestions because I'm not quite sure what your challenges have been and what changes that you think need to be made. But again, it's okay, especially at the second half of the school year, to remove things or to change things up. Okay. Change can be good, especially if it's sucking the joy out of you. All right. Now, you've got your goals that you set for this year. We've already looked at which ones you may have accomplished already. Out of those goals, which one of those haven't you achieved yet that is still super important to you that you want to make sure by the end of this school year, your 10-year-old, his handwriting is legible? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's legible. Or your 12-year-old who is still a horrible speller and it's even bothering her is better at spelling. Okay. Maybe your son who's dyslexic is still struggling to write paragraphs because you're making him, because he has dysgraphia too, and you're making him handwrite them. Then maybe one of your goals that you had for the beginning of the year for him was that he would get out one really good paragraph every couple of weeks or so, or maybe once a month. Look at those goals that you had for yourself, for your family, for your home, for each of your kids, and pick out just one or two of them that is so important to you that that's what you're going to concentrate on for the rest of the school year. Okay. So if it's to help your child learn to write legibly, that's what you're going to do during your quote unquote language arts time. That's what you're going to concentrate on. And you're going to put the parts of speech away, and you're going to put the phonics lessons away and all that kind of, you're going to concentrate on handwriting, and you're going to try and do it in a way that is best for that child's learning style. Okay. So what I'm saying is pick one, no more than two attainable goals for you or each of your kids that is that important to you that by the end of the school year, you want to make sure that they do that. Okay. Maybe it is to learn all of their multiplication facts. Maybe it is to finish up their math program, which I got a whole bunch to say about that. But just keep in mind when it comes to especially math, you're never really behind in math, especially when you're homeschooling. Really, unless your child is wants to go into a math and science field, they really don't need to do anything beyond Algebra 1. So if they're in K through 8th grade, It doesn't matter what grade level they're on, as long as they're progressing with their basic computation and calculation and problem solving skills so that they could do those daily real life math applications. They can add, they can subtract, they can multiply, they can divide, they can work with fractions and decimals and money and proportions and things like that, because, and discounts, because those are the things that, be honest, is what we need to be able to do and know in real life. Okay. So keep that in mind as you're making your math goals. So unless your student is in high school and really wants to go into some sort of math or science career, where higher mathematics like calculus and discrete mathematics and all that kind of stuff is needed, then everybody else, you're working on those really basic real life skills. Okay. All right. So let's think about it. What steps then do you need to do in order to meet that one goal? So let's say your one goal for your son who's 9 years old is that he can write a paragraph that has a topic sentence, 5 or 6 or 7 sentences about that topic, and a final conclusion sentence at the end of it to summarize his paragraph. So basically, you just want him to be able to write a good, solid, informative paragraph. Well, then that's what you're going to work on for the rest of this school year, right? And then each week, you're just going to be giving him different writing topics that he would like to write about, because let's be honest, you're going to get more out of them if they're writing about things they want to write about. Okay. So give yourself some steps, whatever those goals are. Remember, you can always pause this if you're watching the recording to think about for each child what that one goal is you have that you want them to accomplish by the end of the year. And what are 2 or 3 steps that you could take each day, each week, or each month to help them get to or accomplish that goal. Okay. Or if the goal is for you and it has to do with time management or with money management or with meal planning, what are some steps that you can take in order to meet those goals? Okay. All right. Now, because of time, we're at our 30-minute mark. This is also the best time of the year, this in-between week between the holidays and the new year starting, when all of the classes start up again and things like that. Even if your kids aren't in co-op, they might be in karate classes or art classes or theater classes or something. Everything's going to be starting back up next week. Okay. This is a great week to set a whole day aside, or maybe 2 days aside, to reorganize your learning space. All right. So if you live in a house like ours, which is very quaint and very small, we had to organize our bookshelves a certain way. We had to this is a great time to reorganize your school supplies, to restock your school supplies. If half the markers aren't working, go get some new markers. If your colored pencils need to be sharpened, you sharpen those. If you ran out of art supplies, this is a good time to go get it. You know what I'm saying, right? We always had a basket that we had on our kitchen table with all of our school supplies in it, so that whatever we were working on, the kids could easily grab a stapler if they needed it, or tape if they needed it, or whatever. Okay. So, but this is a great week to reorganize, restock, get your learning space in order. And then that way you will feel fresh when you start all over again. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing that I highly recommend that you do is you take out your calendar and you set an end date. So if you don't homeschool year round, right? So if you do more traditional where you start in September and you end in May or June, look at your calendar and figure out what is going to be the day that you're going to officially say, we're done for this learning period. We're done for this grade level. Okay. If you homeschool year round, then there comes a point in the year where your kids move on to the next learning level. Okay. So look at your calendar, set that date and stick to it. All right. And then make sure that you then look at your January, February, March, April, May, maybe June, depending on how you do things, and write down important events that you already know about. Maybe there's birthdays, maybe there's a couple of trips that you're going to be taking to visit grandmas, or weddings you have to go to. Maybe there's some really cool field trips you want to make sure that you and the kids go on. Maybe there's park days or some 6-week classes that you really want your kids to take. You're going to put those things in your calendar now in pen because it's that important to you. Okay. And then that way, when those things come up, you're not going to have the mindset of we're so far behind, we don't have time to do this, or now we can't go on this trip, or now we can't do this field trip. No, you're going to do those things because you felt like they were important enough to plan, and you're going to go on them, and you're going to consider all of it learning. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second before I say goodbye to you. And then take a breath. Pray over the next half of your school year. If you've never written a homeschool mission statement, think about doing that. I have a whole seminar on that. Let me know if you would like to be a part of it. I will be doing one of those on YouTube in the upcoming school year. Create a homeschool mission statement. Just take a minute to reset your own brain. Okay. So anyway, hopefully this really helped you to reflect, to reset. If you want to do more in depth with me, maybe there's a particular child that you like, everything else is going great, but there's one particular child you're really stuck with, or maybe there's one particular area, like maybe math, that you're stuck, all your kids are stuck with. Or maybe you're trying to make some really big decisions about changes you think need to be made, but you're not quite sure how to make them. I would love to meet with you for a coffee date or a one-on-one coaching session. So if you would like to meet with me, we could do a 1 hour one-on-one personalized session. Go to coffeewithcarrie.org, go to the coaching tab, pick a day and time that works for you, and we could meet over Zoom, and I can help you personally with any of those rough spots that you're just not quite sure how to get over them. Okay. I want to be there to help you out. And I have my new book coming out at the end of January 31st. And it is all about helping you change your mindset from doing school at home to home education, and helping you answer the question in the affirmative: am I doing enough? Are my kids doing enough? I don't know you personally, but I can tell you right now, you are already doing enough. And this book will help you see just how much learning is happening in your home. And if it's not, how you can very simply and inexpensively and joyfully change that up. Okay, so that's going to be coming out January 31st. I hope that you'll get a copy of it. All right. So it was good to hang out with you, and I'm hoping to do more lives on a regular basis come 2026. So make sure you subscribe and join.